I am in the wrong town. We are here in southern Illinois trying to find some new places to shop, but I wanted to hit one place I'd been before. But it must be in a town up the freeway because we came here to the Marion Antique Mall thinking that Marion, Illinois, and the Antique Mall was where I had been before, but I've never seen this place. So I guess we're going to find out all about it now. We're going to shop around and look for some bargains that we can flip for a profit in the antique and vintage realm. I think it's just fate telling me that I'm going to find something really great here, and this is where I was meant to come. Well, we're trying to find one of these for one of our friends.
60.
It's 60, yeah, shoot. We could just find one a little less. It's been marked down, but they'd have to go a little deeper than that for me. 1950s ashtray or side table, depending how you wanted to use it now. Some of these were by Hull Pottery. This one is not marked with a brand name on it. It's $120, but the condition's really good, and you don't really run into these much anymore. A lot of times these trays would get broken and then they'd get thrown away. I like the parchment and pine. It's a Hull pattern you don't see very often, and very fanciful. Dorothy Bauer did a lot of their designs in this time, and they were absolutely flights of fancy. The smaller pieces don't usually, including the candlesticks, and they don't usually say Hull, and sometimes like this pot doesn't either, so
How are you?
I'm good.
you'll occasionally see them priced cheaply. A bunch of David Winter cottages here. These were very popular in the 1980s especially, and into the early 90s, and there's some related ones here, but David Winter is the one that a lot of people were collecting back in the time. This one's dated 1980. They do tend to chip because they're a very light chalkware, but they're well detailed, so there are still collectors. I have a bunch for sale too. A nice collection of head bases here, and this one is something a little bit different that you don't see. This one has the lipstick holder built in. It's been priced down to $75, and it's an unusual enough piece that at $75, that's probably a reasonable deal. Also, they left the top of her head not hollow for a plant, but with a recess that you can put powder in. And then this one's a little bit different because it's a male figure rather than a female. These are from the early 60s, and you don't see this set very often. They're asking $50 a piece, but these were given out. They were made by UNESCO, but they were done for Delsey Tissue. I think you sent packaging in or something that was proof of purchase, and then you could get these. Ooh, the classic stag beer crocheted hat. This booth is having some sales. It's kind of fun. There's bar stuff. Seagram's lamp is $85 though, so I don't think we're going to see cheap prices in here. Little House on the Prairie game is priced at $49. ET's only $14. I think this game's actually harder to find. And then over here we have a whole set of Franciscan Desert Rose, and it's 53 pieces for $250. That's about $5 a piece. That is amazing how inexpensive Desert Rose is now for new collectors who are starting. Stars and Bars in the Ruby Red Flash is $40. I like that color, but the color does come off. You have to be careful. Nestle's Cup and Saucers, these are restaurant ware, and these were done by Inca Ware, which is a line of Shenango in Pennsylvania. Those were advertising pieces in the 50s. A few trunk faces, a bunch of Birds of Paradise. Everything so far seems to be priced about what I would price things. I see the sign. I haven't found anything yet with a red line through it. There is a little bit of a danger of this, dealers. Unscrupulous people could come in here with a red pen and make themselves discounts. So think about this if you're using this as a way to mark down tickets. Uh-oh, Zeno loves these lamps. Very 1970s with the pleated shades in the double level, yes, and it's got the gold stitching and everything. But it's really more about the amber glass bottom. $75, yeah. Yeah, this dealer has some cute stuff. I like the Sorrento round cart. You don't see the round so often from the early 70s, but I can't seem to find a price on this. So it may not be for sale. Oh yes, and a groovy avocado swag lamp. I remember going to a housewarming party in the early 90s, and somebody brought one of these as a joke, and everyone said how ugly it was, and I said, I think it's kind of cool. Well, turns out I was right. There are some people starting to collect some of the earlier Dr. Seuss books, especially because a few of them have been rewritten or taken off the market because of changing sensibilities about things. So look into that if you are interested in these. It's a fun area to collect. And as a reseller, there are a couple of sleepers. Oh, you know, I did a video in Sturgis, and all of the women looked exactly like that. These were done about 1920, and it is Bringing Up Father, which was actually a pretty good strip for its time. The husband definitely did not get a lot of respect from his wife in that relationship. This was a thing that was popular to do in the 80s, was to take older records like this Righteous Brothers and melt them into bowls and plates, because of course who would ever want a vinyl record again? It's interesting how repurposing takes place when things have lost their original purpose, and then sometimes we wish that we could just have them back the way they were. However, I think these are fun, and for people who collect vinyl records, you know, these are not particularly valuable records that were mangled in the pursuit of making these dishes, so they can be kind of fun to have around. Parking meters turned into lamps. I've seen a lot of parking meters turned into banks, but the lamps are a great idea if you can put on a base, or it has a good base like this. They want $250 for it. They have some California Originals pottery over here with the very bright speckled orange glaze. $12.95 on the ewer seems like a pretty good price. And then they've got $30 on this piece with the green and orange. This is a cute picnic basket with all of the pieces in it, all of the bakelite handle utensils. It's got a nice green case. It says it's as is, probably missing a few pieces, and they're only asking $40. I have to say, just the bakelite utensils are easily worth more than that, so I'm kind of tempted by this. They've thrown some other things that were probably go-alongs in here with it, like this very fun picnic throw with people having a picnic here, or maybe they're at the beach. Now, some of these pieces are not contemporary, but they're things that people just put in along the way because they thought they'd be useful, and they are all red and matching. We have another spoon here. That was the missing piece. So it is pretty complete. The Florette Picnic is actually the tumblers stacked in a tube. So let's see if the outside is in bad shape, because it says as is. Interesting. I like this set. If they'll give a discount, I think I might take that. Here's a 60s pineapple. Again, not a treasure craft. The flowing of the glaze is not right. This is Maurice of California. Maurice did a lot of ceramics in Southern California in the 1960s and 70s. Nice old radio. The top of it is interesting. It's a Zenith with FM at a time when FM was very, very scarce. This would be 1940 approximately. $99 as is. What were you looking at? Oh, that's cute, but it's got a chip.
It says as is.
Yeah, it's funny. So did the piece I picked up, but I didn't see anything wrong with it.
Maybe?
Maybe. They may just be juring it really... Oh, it's Miramar of California. Yeah, that's a label we don't see very often. Yeah, I think they're just jurying things very hard, which I kind of appreciate. And I think that's just schmutz. I think it's the corrosion on the piece.
It's a feel valve.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's a factory flaw. These are cute. These are by the company that did the sparkle rhinestone-eyed figures, but these are painted pink giraffes. $32.99 for the set. It's nice that they're together and undamaged, and I love the eye. He is definitely checking her out. Ah, now that's nice, because that's the whole thing, including the leg stand, which the one I bought recently didn't have. Mine has to hang on a wall. How about the lamp behind it with the ashtrays built in? That's kind of an interesting thing from the 1930 vintage. $200, and it works. It's got all the pieces.
Works in quotes.
Oh, it doesn't have the original lighter, though.
Yeah.
Starting to see some people buying this cased Empoli in this butterscotch color. That ewer is a nice tall size, and it's $24, so that might be worth looking into. You don't really see the horses much. This is Royal Copley, similar to the deer planters, but the horse is a little less common, and it's priced at $23, which is not a bad deal for what it is. This looks like one of the R. Atkinson Fox cottage prints, only $30, pretty good price. Victorian chenille runner here. It's missing some of the stem and it's faded, but it does have the Victorian tie-dye look, and it's only $8. It's too bad it's not in better shape. this is right out of 1970. Tooled leather with some painted pieces and the brass attachments. Very much the kind of things that you would have seen hippies wearing in that time. They have $40 on it. I have to say that's probably a pretty fair price when you consider what purses cost. It would need to be cleaned up a little bit, though. Wow, yeah, that is really with the gold and everything. And the percolator just snaps in and out of there. That was a very convenient style. $64. And the pink stripe, that's a pretty good Pyrex pattern if you can find it. I had one really small bowl and I think I sold it for $35 right away. So their price is probably not outrageous. I mean, I have to say, for what they have, most of the prices seem like they're in line with what they should be. I like the Green Admiral radio for $50 and another California Originals piece. I'm seeing a lot of California Originals and a lot of Empoli here, which kind of makes sense because this area was still growing in the 1970s, and those were kind of middle of the market things. Now, this is a relative scarcity. This is a short-sized queen bed, which means you could get a queen mattress on it. It's priced at $1,100 because if someone wants old Eastlake antique, it's a beautiful 1870s piece. It's very heavy, it's very well made, but it can accommodate a modern mattress, and that's what's really important. This hall tree is a neat looking one here with the inlays. It kind of matches the wardrobe next to it. It's got a nice marble top as well. It's $6.95, but this is a pretty nice substantial one, so that's not an outrageous price. That is a Pilgrim glass jack in the pulpit, so it should be about $35. $20. Oh, well, that's not bad because it's tall. I sold my much shorter one for $15. They do have a piece of chalet over here that I know is old, and it is marked down to $46. It is not the most exciting color, but that may be a buy at that price. Okay, this just calls itself a real old Greek key porcelain bowl. Well, it is painted with Greek key and flowers, but if you turn it over, there is the M mark in the wreath, which is more Amura. This is Nippon, so this is 1920s. Nicely done, too. $48 is not a bad price, really. These chalk figures are Austin sculpture, so they are a little newer than they look. They're made to look like they're from about 1910 in spelter, but they are actually in ceramic, and they are priced. They are not priced that I can see. Ooh, the automatic ice crusher by Toastmaster. Very orange, very late 60s. That's actually fun. I like old ice crushers. I have a 50s one that just makes the most. And you can probably do fine and coarse.
Nope, off and on.
That's it.
Yep.
$26. I haven't really seen that one before, though. Yes, it is worth $5 in the package. It's house art. It's great that it's got the package because it says it's a house art gift, and that is how it's pronounced, even though it's H-O-U. Can't sleep, no pep, eat or drink, sick, sore throat, pounding headache, sick, cheer up, I have it too. Isn't that lovely? But that's actually kind of fun. Yeah, we'll get that.
That's kind of cool too. Toastess.
Toastess.
Canada.
Oh.
Made in Canada.
I haven't seen that piece before.
Yeah, see, it's
looks like it's right out of about 1970. Is it an electric kettle?
Yeah. Yeah.
Ah, very good.
For tea.
And how much?
$40.
Ah, if it was a more exciting color. This is a multi-stripe vase with an H on it. That is actually Hull pottery way back in the very, very beginning. The price is really cheap. We'd have to get this metal mark off it, which you can do with mag wheel polish, or Barkeeper's Friend usually will take that off. I don't see any chips. The only question is the base. I noticed a little spider crack here in the base, and I think I'm going to pass on it for that because that might make it leak if you were actually going to use it. Here's the whole butterfly in the solid green. You don't see this nearly as much as you see the pink and blue on white. And for people who would prefer green, well, this is kind of a fun piece. It's only $22 as well, which for this big console, or $25, which is pretty good for this big console bowl. I like the French platter here. This is larger and square, like the size of a chop plate, and that's a nice pattern. Even though Limoges is not currently fashionable, some of the more pretty pieces and the more elaborate patterns are still selling well, so we're going to take a look at that. Now, you'll hear people refer to this as waterfall style, and this is a pretty good example of it because it starts to cascade down. Notice it's got a level and then a bump and a level and then a bump. So this is real waterfall Art Deco furniture, and this is more desirable as a result. This is from about 1940. It is priced at $369. Ah, and the Moon and Star compote with the candle holder. Oh, I see, yes. And how much is that one? That's not a bad price. A very large antelope taxidermy from Africa for $8.99. This looks like something Elvis would have had at Graceland after Priscilla and her more refined taste left. But it is definitely of the era. And it's even got, oh, the classic 70s rolling wheels, only on the front for this one because they were heavy to move around. So this throne chair, as we would call it, with the ottoman, is $199. You can live like a king. Now this is really cool, and it's on my bucket list to have a smaller version of this. This is the post office section from about 1900 from, in this case, a little town called New Burnside, Illinois. And you can see USPO in this. You can also see that it was used for a long time, and that's why it has a 1960s speedy zip code, a 1940s window hours sign, a bunch of 1970s hour signs here, and yet originally it was made in Maryland about 1900. It's a really cool piece. It says that glass section has 2 original bullet holes, so somebody must have really been anxious to get their mail, and a very small group of post office boxes on the side. Little sections like this would have been sometimes in a hardware store or a general store or some other store in town because the town wasn't big enough to have a separate post office. And this is a fun piece of furniture, the wagon wheel on barrel coffee table. Now, I think somebody made this one because they didn't do the greatest job cutting out the glass. A lot of these were home projects, but it's a cool look. $175. This is a really fun TV lamp. It's $37.50 now. I think this is a replacement here. This would have originally been fiberglass, and unless I can find the right thing to replace it with, oh, and it's also been broken, so I guess I'm leaving it. That's too bad, but it's a very neat piece, and if it was in good shape, it would certainly be worth more than double that. Falstaff advertising ashtray. Darn, is that a crack I see? It sure is. Well, that would have been fun for $8. Ah, yes, Zeno with the, it matches your shirt. Well, it's a good contrast anyway. That's Hager, isn't it?
Yeah. How much?
I'd like it to be $30 or less.
Looks like we're getting it.
Really? How much is it?
16.
Oh, 16, yes, absolutely. This space has nice depression glass and Pyrex and uranium glass, but they do know what they have, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time looking in here. I will show you something that we see time to time, though. This is Norland's Japan, and that's a label we see. And this very tall and slender beverage that would be from the 1970s, there's your mark on the bottom. They want $60 for it. It's a very specific look, but it's very tall and stately. I like the pink and gray. This is a nice 1950s color combination. We see this picture a fair amount because it was something that was by Burroughs Manufacturing in LA. It was lighter weight than Bakelite or Melmac. Now, from a decorative standpoint, they actually have some cute spaces in here, and there are old things in them, so it's definitely worth spending some time. I like the old mantle that they've surrounded this display with, and a very pretty jade green based, a couple of them actually, floor lamp. This one's 1930s with 3 lights. This one would have needed a top shade, or would need a top shade. This one's 1920s, I believe. And the prices on these are in the $300 to $400 range. And that is one thing I'm noticing here is some of the really well decorated spaces are pretty high on prices. And some of the stuff that's a little more casual is actually where the better deals are. Well, I like the little Enesco Weather Allen. I'm just going to get it for $4.50. It's coated in a certain way, and you can feel it more than see it. But see how it has sort of a glittery nature? it will actually take on some moisture, and from that, I think it was supposed to change color a little bit, and that's how you knew that there was more humidity. Oh, that's interesting. That's that Hawaiian ceramic. $13. That might be worth getting. I think some people do remember and collect this from the 70s. Does it say made in Hawaii on the bottom? Pike Kauai, yeah. $12.95. I'm tempted by that. I think we should give that a shot. Laura Caldwell would buy that. I like this too. It's trimmed out. It would have been a local furniture maker to do something like this, but it might have originally been for an institution or to be something built in at the end of the formica topped counter in a kitchen or something. The little leaves fold down and it's a good color, and it's $90, which is not bad. They're just chrome, but I really like the lettering on this pantry queen canister set. Very deco streamlined looking, even though this would have been made sometime probably in the 1950s. There are two generations of this West Clocks travel clock. I like the face on this. It's nice the way they fold down, but this is the very, very, very lightweight one, and the movement is just not good compared to the older one. They're both vintage, but stick to the heavier metal one for resale purposes. You have old quilts, old chenille blankets, things that are falling apart. Well, that's a time to repurpose them, so at least we can save some of the original fabric and have fun with it. Another whole piece here. Only $16. Pink and black. In a few years, we'll wish we had picked that up for that price, just for the decorative aspect. They're still handy, but a lot of the people who wanted the old metal lockers have found them, so these are only $80 for the pair, which seems pretty cheap to me. Oh, she's very cute, and she has the new look. Lovely lady. The new look was a certain hairstyle and clothing style in 1948, and there she is. And she is quite lovely. The pinup calendar is $26. Turning bird cages into chandeliers has been a thing for a while. And you know what? It is an interesting look. This one is $49. This sombrero here is one of a number of variants on Treasure Craft sombreros. This is the one with this particular pastel floral band from the late 80s when those colors were popular. And the glaze is too thick for you to actually see the Treasure Craft mark. But I do know this piece. At $12, it's a really good deal. It's also big and heavy, and I think I have some already, so I'm going to wait and see, but I know it's here. I like the chrome modernist light, especially this base here, but this plastic cord makes me think that this might be newer than we think. Telescoping studio floor lamp. Yeah, this is not actually an old piece, I do not believe. Trying to trace it back to the cord, and there is the telltale sign, because it has, in Spanish and English, a very large safety tag. Now, along with the more mid-century looking stuff that we've been seeing is this corner with a lot of rustic stuff, including barnwood for sale, and a lot of cast iron. More what I'm used to seeing in this area. Here is a De Groot tulips piece. This is De Groot lath art. De Groot started it on his own, and then Austin Products bought the rights to make these commercially, so a lot were made. I haven't seen the tulip basket before, though. You see the De Groot burned in there, but it was all made out of lath, and it's a very interesting look. This was done in the late 70s and early 80s, and the price on this one is marked down to $100, which is probably about where it should be. Originally, these came in trios or pairs. These are Japanese. They are iron. Sometimes I see them with a brass-colored finish. They're from the 1980s, but they're just very interesting for their fashion. $20 for the pair is not a bad price. A composition QP. This one is a fairly early one. It's got the big heart on the front, and it says that it is an O'Neill. Rosie O'Neill was the one who came up with this design and had the rights. The foot's a little damaged. That's why it's only $50. And we've got Wonder Woman, but that's a newer one. You can tell because of those big blue eyes with that geometry. That was not something they did earlier. Some costume jewelry here and a few pieces I might like to look at. Mostly kind of gold tone and ordinary, but I do like the oval pin that might be check, might be glass, or might be plastic, and the pink one in the bag looks interesting. And then Zeno pointed out this really pretty porcelain figure. That's a 1920s or early 30s perfume dauber. She will lift out of the top, and there will be a large dauber attached to her. She's priced at $100. That's a fair price for what she is, honestly. Well, the folks here were very nice. It was a fun mall, and I'm glad I found it by mistake because I will come back here. We're going to check out a couple of other places in the area next, and we found out that Wren Lake Antique Mall, that was a big one up the road, closed, so it's a good thing we did turn off at the wrong place. Well, if you're having fun with this video and in this place like I am, please do leave a comment, press thumbs up to like. We really appreciate it. It really does help the channel. It helps a lot if you subscribe, because then YouTube knows there's more interest and they're more likely to spread the fun and interest to other people. And then the group gets bigger and we have more fun. You can also check out information on memberships if you're interested in supporting the channel even more. We have some different perks at different levels, so you can see that by clicking the join button or looking in the description below. Well, getting off the freeway in Marion by mistake may have been a great mistake, because we are literally 2 blocks down the railroad tracks. You see the old depot behind me, and we're already at the next antique mall. Right along the railroad tracks is Warehouse Antique Mall. It was built in 1907 as the Bracy and Grubbs building. And now it is full of antiques, and you can see a bunch of stuff outside. Hubcaps were one of the first things I collected when I was a kid, and I had a lot of these from this era. They seemed like they fell off cars a lot in the 60s and 70s, and as a kid, my idea was, well, I could make money selling these someday, and then it turned into a collection. And then I think my parents made money selling it after I went to college. Now, they have a bunch of glass in here. I have to say this decanter, which is Empoli, but is trying to look like a Viking decanter, is probably the most interesting piece to me. Now, this showcase is half off unless marked, and I do like this cute little head base. Certainly not 1940s, but I think it might be 1960s, and that actually in some ways makes it more detailed. Now this is the cactus made Conestoga wagon, and it's the scenic shade with the bears. I love everything about it except it got a hot bulb in it and melted a little bit. That was the problem with these. It's a shame too, because it's only $22, and I would have absolutely bought that and taken it to Portland if it was in just a little better condition. The quilt with embroidery, Cuban flag, Taylor bird, Wednesday. This seems to be just very random stuff that this quilter decided to do, an embroidery on that. How to reduce and stay reduced by only eating gelatin. Knox gelatin. Yay. Yeah, so Jet Magazine, this is 1950s, and it was one of the first publications directed towards Black people, along with Ebony. And this one is particularly interesting because it has graphic pictures of the Emmett Till slaying. The woman who apparently lied about some of his activities towards her just died at the age of 90-something. And there she is. Apparently, he did not give her an insulting wolf whistle. He just sort of looked at her, and she became offended and said something to her husband, and the next thing we knew, this space has a lot of cute 1970s kitsch, like these banks in particular. Puppy Love is $14.95. I had to tell you it's a savings bank. I guess the big slot in the back of his head wasn't clue enough. This is an Enesco product, very lightweight. It almost feels like paper mache. The little elephant is a candle. I think that's just a retro thing. And then this is a 70s bank, and this one's $14.99. Oh, poor skier. He was having a great time, and then all the snow melted, apparently. There is a lot of mid-century here. They said there was, and that's great to see because my next show is out west, and there's more of a demand there. There's a lot of hand-blown fruit around, but I'm pretty sure that these are Blanco because of the shape and the color of the amber, and also because of just the right amount of wear and age. An interesting enough 70s look here with this clock and the silhouette on the glass, and then the print behind. That was a pretty popular design where it looked kind of like almost a pen and ink drawing, and they say boho clock, and I think that's a fair description. It's priced at $59.99, and it definitely looks like mid-70s with a lot of emphasis on butterflies and natural flora and fauna. I remember when every house in Seattle was decorated this way. The Lotus lamps, these are starting to become figured out finally. I knew they would eventually. This one's a touch lamp. This one's a little bit on the cheap side with the speckled shades, but it's kind of funny. I don't get the transferware floral base with it, but to each their own. Like the early 70s, it's just plastic fantastic to look like stained glass, and they have it priced $125, but it's pretty fun with the butterfly motif. And then this is also very late 60s, early 70s with this cage effect for $65. That's actually a pretty good deal. I could see being able to sell that at a profit out west, but it is missing the top part of the glass. Oh, because it's butterscotch.
The price is right.
Well, then I will guess too low, because I always do on that show. $75.
Oh. No.
Less? It should be less. I was just, 50. Well, okay. That's probably true in this market now. I mean, that's the thing. Here's another one of these 70s silhouette pictures. And, you know, you have to remember, this is close enough that Chicago people would come down here to shop and think maybe they were getting a better deal on this stuff because they're finding it out here. I'm not sure that it really is a different price. I've actually shopped in Chicago and gotten some pretty great stuff for really reasonable prices. So, and I mean, that's the thing. $30 is not unreasonable for that piece with the square top. It's just not anything I can buy for resale. We were just talking about Flashdance when we were driving here, and there is the poster from the movie. That is so funny. Well, that's another 80s thing that'll come back. $50. 15. You definitely wore the right color shirt today. Everything you're picking up from the 70s looks like it was made for it. If you really want an Empoli wine bottle, you can get one in the original bottle green that Empoli was known for before they got into the mid-century colors. This one was made in the mid-century as a giant wine bottle that was basically a floor to 4-foot pillar candle holder. It's priced at $150 now. I remember in the day that they were considered kind of schmaltzy and a little bit ersatz, but they're really kind of cool and fun now. This whole space actually seems to be a lot of fun. There's all the Merry Mushrooms, $195 for that set, $85 on the McCoy smiley face, and a bunch of Franciscan. And, you know, their prices are prices that people will pay. $65 for the gravy boat, $65 for the divided bowl. Now we're into the main part of the warehouse, and we're going to see some older things back here, I'm sure. It's an interesting mix. Pump organ, hard for me to sell. I love the old Victorian touches with the mirrors in the back, those big sideboards. But again, you need a big space. Now that's fun because of the Venetian shade and chalkware. $95 is not a bad price for that. If the shade was a more happy color, it'd be even more.
The price is right.
I'm hoping it's at least 30.
Higher.
Oh, really? 50.
Higher.
Wow, really? I know some of them are getting up there, and we just got a whole bunch for $10 each, so that's exciting. How high can it go?
Higher than 50.
Oh, isn't there supposed to be a crowd yelling at me to tell me what to say? 100.
You went over.
I figured. How much?
85.
85, wow. $22. Yeah, those 80s clocks from New Haven, this is right at the 80s. See, this should be a clock here.
Yeah.
Are definite, although I have to say, using it as a mirror, they should have thought of that at the time. That's ceramic, isn't it, rather than resin? And possibly Italian. I think they did some of these, and $65. Yeah, I mean, as I might expect. I'm not seeing a lot here that I think I'm going to be able to purchase and take elsewhere and get more for. This is a neat hanging lamp. I have one of these I need to repair myself. And it is the resin grapes with the lamp that goes down into the middle in a big tube. It's priced at $150. It's a swag lamp. And, you know, again, these prices are not necessarily unreasonable at all for what the stuff is. Yeah, I was just looking at another one over there. How much is that one? The other one was $195. Less. Oh, well, I like this one better, actually. $150. Yeah. Yeah, those are all pretty good prices. I mean, they're right on. That's very 70s. Maybe early 80s with those pink and blue colors. bunch of Russell Wright in the chartreuse. The prices seem just fine on these pieces. Again, you know, if you know what you're looking at and you're collecting this sort of thing, which a lot of people are right now, these pieces are priced at retail. This is the era a lot of people are interested in. On the other hand, now we come to a half off booth, unless marked firm. So we're going to hope that everything that we like is not marked firm. But it is. If you're going to price most things firm and then say half off the rest, why don't you just mark down the stuff that you are wanting to sell? It doesn't make sense. It just, I mean, it's a cheap lure into the booth, and then it just makes people mad. And then the next time they come, am I going to come back to this booth? I don't know. I mean, not unless I see something that I think is a deal at half off. You know, it'd be different if it was a lot of stuff that was for sale. But look, firm. We went through and marked everything good firm and then put a half off sale because we just want to get rid of the junk. Well, just price the junk down or take it away. Oh, interesting. They don't have a blendo tag. That doesn't always mean they don't price it like they should. Oh, I'm thinking around 40 to 45. 27.50. That's not bad. That is something. That's the closest thing I've seen to a resale price in here. And that's the thing. If you keep being patient, if you keep looking, you will find deals. And especially if you go to the same place over and over, you'll get a feel for which dealers are fun to look at and which dealers are actually somebody that you're going to possibly make money buying from. The little red clock is $22.50. You know, the prices honestly are reasonable for what they have here. And if I was furnishing a house, I would probably buy a lot here. But I am looking for resale, and these are prices I would want to sell these things for. So what I need to do is figure out where in this part of the country these dealers are going to find this merchandise, because obviously it is here and they are finding it. So I'm going to have to start asking around at some of the auctions where people go besides here and get into the loop a little bit more while I'm here. This is a pretty piece here. They have it marked Cambridge. I honestly thought Jeanette Glass did this one in their shell pink, so we're going to have to look into that. It doesn't seem fire polished in the way that Cambridge would be. Now, pulleys and fireplace accessories are 50% off here, but again, they have prices around $35 on the medium-sized one. This big block pulley, that might be something worth buying, but I don't need another big object like this currently. Lots of cool lamps hanging all over the place. It is a fun store. Public telephone sign is $2.75. That's a pretty typical price. All right, we're in the barn. More booths downstairs, and wow, it sure looks like we are. So let's come in here and see what they've got. I like the silver tree right away. I actually have a couple of those ready for next Christmas. They want $250 for the 6-footer. Treasure Craft, wow. Yes, the fruit line in all the canisters. That was very popular in the 60s when they did the plastic tops, and then they put the wood tops on in the 70s. $45 for the set is about right. This wicker chair has certainly got some age and great shape and style. If you made a cushion for it and repainted it, it'd be worth saving. It is priced at $195. Chippy paint is fine on wicker, but not to sit on. Lamps for $55. I mean, these are a cool modern look. That's actually a pretty good price if they would take a discount for the pair. I'd almost be tempted, except I'm looking at this, and this looks modern to me. So again, you have to watch, because some modernist looking things have been made pretty recently. They're retro and not vintage. These are definitely vintage, probably vintage 1940s or 50s. It's nice that there's 3, although one has a hole. It's even nicer they're priced individually, so you could just get 2. And they're $45 each, which is really not bad. You could make money on those if you clean them up a bit. This is a Daisy Rocket Ice Crusher, and this is a cool thing that you would hang on the wall if you have the hanging part. So many of these were separated from that now you have these great rocket ice crushers, and they will stand up, but they're really not meant to, so they're a little hard to use. This one's only $30. If it had the attachment and was a little cleaner, it could be triple that. Fire King Apples and Cherries Bowl. This is one pattern you actually see more in Canada than you do in the United States. Myers Deli, that's neat. Oh yes, Indiana Glass Diamond Point. I actually like that piece in that color. $25 is a fair price. And then we have a hanging rocking horse. I have to say, in this place, you have to look up. A lot of the fun stuff is actually hanging from the ceiling here. Mid-century swag, $46. And here's a set of dinette chairs right out of the mid-60s in pretty flawless shape, actually. Well, one flaw. Lots of tins from various decades. In some ways, I think the most fun set is this, partly because it's just a whole set and because it has these 1970s graphics all over it. Well, let's see. They say they have Fenton here, pink scallop glass. Again, you know, all the interesting stuff seems to be priced firm. Cool pattern Formica table here, priced at $150. That's actually a pretty decent price on that. Again, if you were buying for your own house, there's plenty of stuff here to buy. Well, the John Perry is cool and kind of misplaced in the middle of Illinois, and $25. That's the closest to a buy I've seen. And then Pensacola Beach, how much is she? Yeah, I figured the one with, oh, somebody left some sort of a flash drive here.
That's a game.
Oh, is it a game?
Yes, Nintendo DS.
Oh, well, this is a very nice place to shop if you are looking for stuff for you. I would recommend coming here. If you're looking for stuff for resale, well, this might not be your first stop. But if you were in the area frequently enough and you made it a regular stop, I'm sure you would find some deals in there. Here is an old caboose. Yes, these used to be at the back of trains for you younger folks. It was a place they could stay. It was a place they could observe the back of the train, make sure everything was going fine. Well, nowadays we have cameras and overhead surveillance and all sorts of things. So they got rid of most of the cabooses, and they're mostly sitting around being used as little buildings or Airbnbs. Do not hump. I used to live across from a train yard, and I believe do not hump means you don't push it over the switch hump and let it slam into the back of the rest of the cars. Probably because it has glass windows and living quarters and such in it.
Well, Marion is a cute little town, and there are other little individual antique shops here. There's other reasons to come back, so we'll have to make another trip here now that we've discovered it completely by mistake. I bought some really cool things at the first shop. I enjoyed seeing the second shop, so we'll be back for more.
If you enjoyed this video, check out this one. Also, click thumbs up to like this video and check the description for information about our Patreon, our memberships. We've got a lot of different levels with different perks and bonus videos and early content. Also, please do check out our website, theantiquenomad.com, for appraisal help. And we'll see you again for more adventures in the antique and vintage community soon. Bye for now.